Oklahoma Sooners quarterbacks were cooking in their first scrimmage of the fall camp season.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase over at Game Time. He's Jay Smith of Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. I'm John Williams of Sooners Wire at USA Today Sports. And on today's show, we're going to talk about one SEC network analyst that's really excited about the Oklahoma Sooners and why he's right. We'll also discuss Oklahoma's scrimmage on the defensive side of the ball coming up in the second segment. But we got to start with the quarterbacks, Jay, because it sounds like John Mateer, Michael Hawkins both had big moments in the Saturday scrimmage for the Oklahoma Sooners.
The notes sound like you got everything you wanted out of a first scrimmage with this group, with this offensive coordinator and this team. Of course, you had some players down. The offensive line kind of struggled as you went down the line. You got another injury, and we'll talk about some of those and kind of give some theories around that. But, John, it sounds like we got what we wanted. The offense walked out, started off strong. Things evened out midway through the scrimmage. And in the end, the defense took over. Hence why we're talking about the defense here in the next segment. That's kind of what you want, right? You would like to have your team start off strong with the scheming, defense adjust, and then the defense adjust again. Especially if we're expected to have a top defense in the conference at minimum. They're going to have to be able to adjust quickly and be able to really force our offense to conform to what they want. Now, granted, our offense will learn from this defense, and we can talk about that in a moment, but that's a good thing in my personal opinion. And yes, the quarterbacks both had solid outings overall.
And I think that's a great place to start because given that they were down a couple offensive tackles because of what sounds like concussion protocol, they were still out there making plays. They were still impressive. Both John Mateer and Michael Hawkins, and everything that we've read from OU Insider and Sooner Scoop, the Oklahoman, wherever it's coming from, talked about the quarterbacks and how they were making plays. Oklahoma released the hype video on their social media account, and you could see both John Mateer making a really nice pass as Isaiah Satania. Satania took it to the distance. And my favorite one was Michael Hawkins rolling to his right, throwing off balance, finding Jacob Jordan just over the defenders. So good performances from your quarterbacks, and the fact that they were still able to make some plays without the offensive line being 100%, that's an encouraging sign, at least for the season. Even if your offensive line isn't 100% throughout the year, you still feel a little bit more comfortable with the quarterback play that you're going to get this year.
Yeah. Mateer, you expect Mateer to figure it out in time. You expect him to do it, especially against a really good
great
SEC.
Under duress.
Right. That's actually where he plays best. Todd McShay talked about that when he broke down the film on him as a NFL prospect. And he said he's one of the most competitive MFers out there. And that was what he focused on, is that he's a gamer. He's gonna figure it out. He's gonna do what he needs to do, and he's gonna make it happen. He's gonna make mistakes. Granted, he will, because he will try to stretch the envelope. He's going to push it as far as he can. He is a habitual line stepper when it comes to the way that he plays that position. But he doesn't do it in a way to where he makes himself a true detriment. Again, he's going to have some turnovers. He's going to rifle it in there, and it may get tipped and get picked because a player's not prepared for it. Those things are going to happen. I'm prepared for it. My body's ready for him having about 10 interceptions this season, mainly because he's going to sling it. As long as he's a 3-to-1 ratio with 30 touchdowns, I don't care. I'm satisfied. But the good thing is that you saw Michael Hawkins seeing success as well, in which what I heard, John, is that Hawkins looks good with Arbuckle, and it appears that Arbuckle really enjoys having him out there.
that's going to be one of the more fascinating developments to watch, is how much more comfortable Michael Hawkins looks this year versus last year. Like when we get to see him against Illinois State, which I fully anticipate we'll get to see him, or against Kent State or against Temple, in those games in particular, he's going to look far more comfortable than what he did last year. Now, last year he was going up against Tennessee and Texas and Auburn, very different defenses, but I'm looking forward to seeing the guy just continue to show that development. Elsewhere, yeah, it was a troublesome day for the offensive line, in particular at offensive tackle. It sounds like the interior held up, that Oklahoma was able to make some hay in the run game, but it was just the offensive tackles were struggling with Oklahoma's pass rush.
And that's expected. This pass rush is built to be that good. But it also, what makes it even more expected is when you're dealing with people out. Derek Simmons is still down, dealing with a little bit of, concussion type. They're in a NFL's caliber concussion protocol. So more so, if they recognize something, they're going to go ahead and pull them from these practices because they want to make sure that they don't put themselves in a circumstance where they're creating long-term effects. Mm-hmm. So this is fall camp. He really don't need to be out there like that. He'll be all right. So Simmons is out from that. Same thing with, if I'm correct, Sexton and Jake Taylor. So it's not things that are super serious, like concerns. It's more of we're going to be cautious on this. But you did see Deion Burks in some of those videos making catches. So it sounds like he's out there running routes again and making catches and doing some stuff. You mentioned Isaiah Satania. John, I have not been more excited about a wide receiver room this year. I'm as excited about this room as I was in 2023 when it was still an unknown. But I was like, man, I see so much promise here. And they lived up to those expectations. Unfortunately, last season we dealt with injuries. But I think this year it's going to be once again, it's like, oh, where'd this wide receiver room come from? Mm-hmm. It feels like Emmett Jones has it set up for that.
Yeah, and if you get both Isaiah Satania and Deion Burks out there able to make plays in the passing game, that just opens so much up for you in the offense because those guys are both big-time home run threats. You heard positive things about Elijah Thomas throughout the week at fall camp, just not just in the scrimmage, but in practices as well. And I think his arrow is trending up, that he's going to see significant playing time. It sounded like, though, overall, the wide receivers struggled with drops. Sometimes that happens when you're getting pressed and you're facing a competitive defense like Oklahoma's got. Then there's a pretty good chance sometimes you're going to have some concentration drops. You're going to be a little bit more under pressure, but they're going to develop from that and grow from that. At tight end, it sounds like Carson Kent and Jaron Kanek were the two standouts there.
Yeah, it sounds like I think Kent may have caught a touchdown or something. He, did some stuff. So, hey, whatever we get out of the tight end room, I'm going to be 100% honest with y'all. I've been thinking about this the last few days. That is icing on the cake. That's it. I have zero expectations from the tight end room, and it's nothing against them. It's more of there's so many more questions about them right now that whatever they give us, John, sure. Thanks, guys. We love you.
Yeah, they're the all gravy baby position of
exactly
group, right? Whatever we get, it's all gravy. Like,
hey, if you put it on the Bills, sure. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bills are covered.
I think we're gonna get positive play out of that. And this isn't to compare to last year. I think the better comparison is 2023, right?
Yeah.
2023, it felt like tight end was generally a net negative for this team. Yes, there were some negative plays from the tight end position last year, but again, Bauer Sharp was put in a ton of really bad positions by the offensive coordinators for this staff. 2023, you just didn't get much out of the position. I think we're going to be closer in a total production standpoint to what we got out of Braden Willis in 2022. And even if it's not that, if we get something like 45 catches for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns as a group from tight end, that's great. As long as they're not being a net negative in the blocking scheme, we're not dropping passes on key third downs. That's the thing that matters the most. As long as this offense is humming and we're getting good production out of it, as long as we're not getting negative plays out of the tight end position, I'll feel really good about it.
Same.
Let's talk about the defensive side of the ball coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Times makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. Tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal? Game Time's Zone Deals pick the best seats in your section for you. And if you're looking to figure out what your seat's going to be looking at, they give you the panoramic seat view. So there are no surprises, no surprise obstructed views inside the app. You got to go check it out there. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, be on the lookout for my interview with Luke Wilson that will drop on your feeds on Monday as well. Great kid. He was Oklahoma's 2027 offensive tackle commit that dropped late last week. Had a chance to sit down with him and just talk about his recruitment and all that. So be on the lookout for that bonus episode coming to your feeds on Locked On Sooners. But Jay, defensive scrimmage notes, what stood out to you the most that we were hearing all weekend?
So kind of like in the first segment, the fact that the defense adjusted and took over. That's a big deal. That's kind of what you want to happen. You want your defense to win more of the matchups than your offense. Mainly because they got a kind of a quote unquote unfair advantage. They kind of know what's going to happen anyway, right? They understand how and what's going on with your offense. They know kind of the sets. They understand what to look for with certain players. They know their teammates' tendencies. So you kind of expect them to have that unfair advantage on that. Plus, they got Brent Venables, who should know and is prepared to go up against that defense because Kevin Wilson ran one similar to what Ben Arbuckle does. So that's kind of what you would expect. The good thing is that the edges were just dominant, John. They were out there kicking tail. So, our Mason Thomas, Marvin Jones Jr., Taylor Wine, Daniel Okoye, cooking, just like you're expecting. Sounds like we're in a good position.
Yeah, interesting is we're starting to hear more Danny Okoye buzz. Like Miguel Chavis made mention of him late last week. Sounds like he carried that over into the scrimmage, and he's beating the drum. Like there's a consistent pattern with Danny Okoye that is trending in the right direction. We know he's an athletic freak. I mean, Brent Venables mentioned he's maybe the most athletic player on the team. If he can figure everything else out, he's going to be a really, really, really good player because he's fast, he's physical, he's athletic. It's just a matter of getting the nuances of the Brent Venables defense down. And if you can do that, the sky is the limit for the kid. And I mean, he's probably going to factor into that 4-man rotation at defensive end. How many snaps he gets we'll see. I mean, a lot of that's going to be up for debate and up for competition throughout the season, but sounds like things are trending in a really positive direction for him at defensive tackle. Continue to hear nothing but positive things. That group is just really, really stinking good.
Yeah, it just is. That's just the thing, is that you expected him to be good. We knew this offensive line is trying to build up some quote unquote experience together. And the good thing interior wise is basically the same dudes: EPL, Troy Everett, Fabichi Wewu, same dudes been working together. You're getting some experience for Ryan Fogier. You're getting Hito Zaida back out there after that shoulder deal. But they're probably your stronger units. It's more your tackles that if there's any type of concerns, that's probably it. But they're the ones that they're dealing with, the bodies that are falling. So, of course, the veterans are going to go out there and cook the young players. It's kind of what you expect. If they don't, then we really have some problems. Like, we can't be talking about having one of the best defensive lines if we're not able to actually be the best defensive line against our, second and third string tackles. So, point being, that's what you're hoping for. Now, secondary wise, I heard linebackers and in the cheetah row, Powers and Kendall Daniels are making some statements.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good chance you're going to see Kendall Daniels floating all over the place. He's a giant human being just in general. I mean, he's a legitimate 6'5", 245-pound dude. Like, he's big. Like, he's bigger than Deshaun McCullough was. And McCullough was a giant person, but he wasn't very thick. He was more slim, hence why he went by the moniker of Slim. Kendall Daniels is a big, thick dude, but he's fast enough to play not only safety, but linebacker and edge. And so him with Reggie Powers, to me, and we texted about this, John, put both of them on the field and let the offenses figure out where they're at. Who's doing what? And make them get confused. And I would just love that.
Yeah, I mean, Reggie Powers III, he's an athletic player. He can play both safety and cheetah. He can play single high if you want him to. He can play down in the box if you want him to. I think with him, Robert Spears-Jennings, Kendall Daniels, you have a really intriguing trio that you can mix and match in a lot of different ways. And in particular, depending on what you're seeing from the other offense, like if it's an offense that doesn't have this big high octane passing attack, you might go a little bit heavier and try to slow, like against Michigan. Michigan's going to want to run and pound it and ground and pound it. That's what they're going to want to do. And you might be better suited going with a look of Kendall Daniels, Robert Spears-Jennings, and Reggie Powers III in your safety cheetah trio than you might be with Peyton Bowen in the mix in there. But against teams like LSU, you might want somebody that has a little bit more coverage skills. We'll just see. But it wouldn't surprise me to see that be your trio on a number of occasions because it's athletic, it's physical, and it's fast. And Oklahoma wants to be all three of those things, and they bring it every time they're on the field.
That's what's most important, is that they're bringing it. And so, and I was talking to me and Coop was talking about this a little bit. Something that's intriguing to me, John, is, of course, our biggest question mark on this team is the secondary. But as you're seeing the propaganda come out, one thing that we're seeing a lot of, we're hearing about Devon Jordan. It sounds like he's starting to step up and become a threat out there. We know Kendall Dobie's coming back healthy and he's going to be good. But even with that, J.J. Newcomb, you're starting to see some of the propaganda come out for him. That's three more dudes at the corner spot that could play with Gentry, who sounds like he's healthy and he's ready to go, especially while we're waiting for Eli Bowen to play. That room could be the one that gives us similar to 2023 vibes of, we don't know what we got here, and then they show up like, oh, wait, y'all are actually pretty darn good. Yeah. Our big question is what coverage looks like. Like Jacoby Johnson, super athletic, just can't stay on his feet last year. He stays on his feet this year. He could be a threat out there playing at the corner spot. But you know Robert Spears-Jennings is going to bring it. Reggie Powers, Jaden Hardy, as well as Michael Boganowski in your safeties. Your safety room is good. Peyton Bowen, we're waiting to see if we get the healthy version of him. Like you said, an athletic coverage guy. But there's a good chance that corner room shocks us, especially if we're hearing about Devon Jordan, J.J. Newcomb, and Cortland Guillory showing out. We could even have another freshman All-American. I would not be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to completely write off Eli Bowen, but if he's not healthy to start the season and your corners are looking good, it's no guarantee that he's going to step right back into the starting lineup. You know,
exactly.
There's a lot of competition, and what's intriguing about this is that room is a homegrown room.
Exactly.
Like Jay Valai has been recruiting this group, and now it's kind of the time. Like he's not relying on transfers. He's not relying on guys that, you know, were veterans like a Woody Washington that were here before he got here. No, like every single guy that's going to get significant playing time is a guy that he's recruited. It's kind of like I'm going out on my shield moment for Jay Valai right now. It's like either on my shield or with it from the 300. And these guys seem to be stepping up and really showing out right now. That's really exciting to consider, knowing that cornerback has been a big question mark for Oklahoma. So if we think that Gentry and Jacoby and Cortland and Jeremiah Newcomb and Devon Jordan, that group of five right there is playing good ball right now, and it sounds like they are, and then you have an Eli Bowen that's going to get healthy and get back into the mix, that's super intriguing. And then you never know what they're going to do with Kendall Dolby. He could play anywhere. And I mean, I don't want to say there's not enough snaps to go around, but at some point there might not be enough snaps to go around in the secondary.
The question is, I'm curious to how many snaps a lot of these players get. I wonder how many rotations are we going to actually go through? How often will Jay Valai and Brent Venables look at swapping people around? That is what I'm the most intrigued about, is what those rotations look like, because you're right. There's not going to be enough snaps for everybody. But if somebody's standing out, you kind of got to play him. I want to see Cortland if he shows you he that dude when you play against Michigan. Put him in the game. Keep him in the game.
Well, and you're going to get a big test in the first half of the season against a really good Auburn wide receiver core, and then against Texas as well. So the first half of the season is going to be really indicative of what this cornerback group looks like. I don't know if we'll get a full indication against Michigan. We certainly won't against Illinois State, Temple, and Kent State. But I think after the Texas game, we'll pretty well know what this cornerback group is capable of. The Oklahoma Sooners are getting a lot of buzz this offseason, and it's not really slowing down. The hype train continues as one SEC network analyst continues to rave about the Sooners. Coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Chris Deering of SEC Network and ESPN fame was again raving about the Oklahoma Sooners and quarterback John Mateer.
Yeah, it sounds like his big thing is Oklahoma fixed the problems that they had going into throughout last season. Going into this year, the questions was on the offensive side of the ball. That's literally it. Your quarterback position was not as productive as you would have liked. Offensive line was, young, but it started to hit its stride later in the year. Your running backs were, here and there, had moments, but they weren't as healthy. And so, but the defense seemed like it had the majority of the good health and good fortune the entire year. Well, now you need to see something on offense. What are you going to do to fix that? Oh, great. You go get one of the top quarterbacks in the transfer portal, and John Mateer, plus his offensive coordinator. So that makes it even better. You hire an offensive coordinator, you convince the quarterback to join him. That just made everything simple. The quarterback ain't got to learn anything new. He's now the teacher. He's no longer the student. Then you go out there and get one of the top running backs in the portal as soon as he hits, and immediately gets him. Like, that's huge to get a player like Jaden Ott and his capabilities, because, again, we talked about before, Cal has produced some backs, dude, like J.J. Arrington, Marshawn Lynch. I mean, you've seen Cal running backs in the NFL, and people are like, how? I'm like, I don't know. They somehow do it. It's magic, right? But at the same time, the state of California produces a lot of athletes, and it just kind of, some of them get under the radar every once in a while. You get that. Like, Jaden Ott was a 4-star at Chino, California. Nobody really knew about him, and here we are now. So you add those components, John, and you also go get a kicker. Tate Sandell. Big one problem we had was making field goals under 40 yards. This dude's only missed one. Sounds like you've actually filled gaps you needed to. And I think that's where a lot of these people, SEC Network, ESPN, Josh Pate, right? The list is going on for people that are starting to see, hey, with Oklahoma making those decisions, there's a very good chance that they actually fix the problems that can lead to them being successful.
Well, and the bigger part of this isn't that Oklahoma's offense doesn't have to carry the load. So while they're relying on a bunch of transfers to come in and be significant players for them, they don't have to do all of the heavy lifting by themselves. This is a complete team going into the season. Yes, the offense is going to be good, and it has to be good for Oklahoma to go win 9, 10, 11 games. They have to be good, but they don't have to be superhuman great like the 2017, 2018, 2019 Oklahoma offenses had to be. They have to be good, because your defense is also going to be good to great. And I think as much as, yes, they fixed a lot of things on offense, they carried over one of the best defenses in the country last year. And it's a defense that's actually going to get a little bit of help from its offense. It's not going to be put in such negative game situations, in negative game scripts where, they're down 10-15 and they don't get to do what they do best, which is rush the passer. No, they're going to be able to play in more neutral game scripts, more game scripts where they're ahead and they're dictating to the offense what's going to happen because their pass rush is so dynamic. No, but the offense, man, it's going to be really, really good. And I think they're going to be 30 points per game, 35 points per game. And if they do that, they're going to have a chance to win a lot of games this year. And it's going to be a lot due to John Mateer and Jaden Knott. And those will be huge. But the resurgence of the offensive line, these transfer portal wide receivers that have come in, and even some of the homegrown wide receivers like a Elijah Thomas out of Chakotah. Like, this is going to be a more complete team. And I'm excited to see it here in just under 3 weeks now.
That's the only thing I want. I just want to see some completeness. I want to see some complementary football. I want to see the defense. We lean heavy on them, maintain our lean on them, and then have the offense make sure that we get over the hump with stuff. And we can do that. That can happen. Last year, we led technically in 8 games. We led at the half. It should have been 9, but we gave up that punt return against LSU, like literally right as the half was ending. But we were leading in the first half in 9 games last year. We led at halftime in 8 of them. The only one that we didn't lead at the half that we won was Auburn. Right? We weren't leading at the half. We were getting our tail kicked, and Auburn did what they typically do, and Oklahoma had Sooner Magic. So that their voodoo with our Sooner Magic always leads to one side winning all of that. But I digress. Complementary football is critical for us to be successful, John, and I feel like we're going to see that. And I think the SEC Network guys, all of them, Chris, a few of them, Dari Noka's talked about this. They see that as well, and that's the thing to me that gets me more and more excited about going into the season.
And I don't even care about the schedule. I don't care. I'm done talking about the schedule. I'm done talking about what those
you're not done.
Not be. No,
we're about to break this schedule down. But yes.
I'm okay. Let me say this. I'm done talking about, the schedule's so difficult. No.
Okay, there you go.
That. No, I'm done with that. Let's line up. Let's go play ball. Let's find it out. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't think it's as difficult as everybody's making it out to be. Oklahoma is a different team than they were a year ago. And this team is poised for a bounce back. I mean, Phil Steele will say that they're the most surprising team. We've said it. This is a team that is poised for a really, really good season. They're not the team they were a year ago. That is a mirage, an aberration, a bad dream, whatever else you want to quantify that as. That's what it was. It was not Oklahoma football. And if you want to use last year to determine future success, by all means, you could do that. And you'll be very, very pleasantly surprised that they're not that team.
That's going to be the best part. That's going to be the best part, that they're going to upset a lot of people. And it's going to be in a good way for us as fans, just because a lot of people are pushing there's no way this team is going to be any different than they were last year. I mean, awesome. Sure. I mean, that means that we should win at least 9 games because the offense will guarantee to be better. Just saw a metric came out about how the team should look next season, and it's like 4 times better than what it was last year. So that's the case. I'm not going to complain.
Everybody's saying it. Oklahoma's going to be a really good team this year. So you can still be on the downside of that, or the negative Nancy if you want to be, but it's time to start getting excited about Oklahoma football because it's going to be an exciting product on the field this year. Will they win 11, 12 games? Who knows? Will they win 9? Who knows? But it's going to be a much, much better product. And it's going to be a lot more fun to watch, and it's going to be a lot more entertaining. You're not going to be down 21-0 in the first quarter in any game this year. You're not going to be down to Texas big at halftime like you were last year. You're not going to be. You're not going to be.
Don't get cooked.
You're not going to be losing to LSU by 20 in your own place. That's not going to happen. This is going to be a much better team. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in and being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and available wherever you get your podcast. So hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, on YouTube. You can follow me at John9Williams and read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer
Sooner. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. Please hurry. 3 weeks away.
Less than.
Less than.
Almost there.